Yep, we're here and we are working like we're supposed to. Hey guys, this is Uncle Dallas. Welcome to the YouTube. Today we're going to talk about how to be free. We're going to stay on the subject of soul ties because a lot of people really wanted to talk about that subject. They really wanted to get into it. And so we're going to remain in there. We're trying to get every form available. Every form available when it comes to wow. I'm live on YouTube. We'll talk later. Every form available that we possibly can get going on when it comes to understanding this subject and this subject matter. Jesus. Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. 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 So everything I'm sorry guys. I just found out a friend of mine died. Wow. Okay, so when you wow. Okay. We got it. We're together. We're together. We're together. We're together. We're together. We got our thing together. Wow. Wow. Literally just found this out like while I'm sitting here. Jesus. Wow. Jesus. Okay, so I apologize. I just found out a friend of mine died. Okay. Hi, guys. This is William Dallas, Higher Standards. Today we're going to talk about free your mind. And in the process of talking about that, I want to discuss where we are when it comes to that. Every source. You saw my matrix thing. I had a matrix. I was going to do my matrix glasses. I was going to do this whole thing like this. Do the whole teaching with my matrix glasses. But no, we're going to talk about using regular glasses today. Okay, so for those of you that are part of the mentoring course, you probably got my guys are going to give me about 2 minutes. So everybody, if you are actually following me in your book or your Bible, I need you to go to Matthew. That was not the time to get this. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to Matthew. Where are we going to go to? Matthew 11:29. I'm in the wrong book anyway. Matthew 11:29. All right. Go to Matthew 11:29. Now, here's the thing. When you start talking about things like soul ties and things that are tied to you, one of the reasons that you don't get a lot of guys, y'all just kind of keep from me. I'm trying to get my head together. Okay. Now, one of the reasons you don't hear a lot about soul ties is for two main reasons. Number one, there's a positive and a negative to the soul tie. And number two, what you have to realize is within soul ties, there is the benefit of having you tied to something. There is that. And so, when you start dealing with that subject, you have to deal with why, what, when, where, how, that whole 9 yards. So what I want you to understand is starting in Matthew, now we're going to Philippians. Philippians is a large proponent of understanding it. When you deal with soul ties, you have to understand that when something is available to tie your soul, it is either there to control you or to guide you. And guiding can be positive. Guiding could be negative, but it's there to guide you. So, when you look at this scripture, and this is why the scripture will make reference. The scripture says this. It said, take my yoke upon you, learn of me, for I am meek and lowly. This is Jesus talking in the red letter. I am meek and lowly of heart, and you shall find rest for your soul. you shall find rest for your soul. Your thoughts, your intellect, your emotions, all of those are condensed into your soul. They're there for a reason. They're there so that you can have a positive impact wherever you go, and what God gives you is impacting you as well positively. So what happens is, he said, now, where things are trying to weigh you down, those things that are trying to weigh you down, if you allow your soul to rest in the Lord, then what you'll understand is that's where your source of peace will come from. The easiest way to control you by your soul is to put you under trauma. Now, those of you that were with me last week, I told you there are three major ways for soul ties. One of them is trauma. What happens with trauma, something happens that's major in your life. And when trauma happens, you reach to grab the place of peace the best place of peace you possibly can get to. When it happens, if it is not God, it's something that you grab that does not have the power nor the strength to maintain you through the point of trauma. So what happens is it offsets what you are. For example, someone dies. When someone dies, you either go, oh my God, and begin to say, God, give them peace, and begin to move closer to your relationship with God, or oh me, and begin to connect to things like who did it, why did they do it, all these kinds of things, not dealing with the foundation of your life, which is God, what's the plan, what's the purpose, what do I do from here? So those type of traumas can happen in a number of different ways. They can happen when it comes to something tragic. Maybe someone broke into your house. Maybe there was some molestation. There could be a number of different things. And what those traumas do is they leave you open to be tied to something, hear me, that makes you feel either safe or feel normal. So someone can come around and go, hey, set up their own type of trauma and then give you a solution to that trauma and make you feel normal. A lot of times that happens with relationships. It happens a lot in churches. It happens a lot with religion. It happens a lot when it comes to government. All these things are trying to tie your soul to something that makes you feel like you are either weak, or you feel like nothing is available to you, or you feel like you're less than something or less than somebody. And so what happens is a soul tie then gives you the opportunity to feel normal. And it also gives the person the opportunity that gives you the soul tie a way to control. So let's look at this. He said, now, taking me on my yoke is easy. So what happens is, back to soul ties. Now, I think it's Corinthians, the 10th chapter. I'm going to go to Corinthians, the 10th chapter. What happens is, when you are in these positions, what you have to realize is, 2 Corinthians, 10th chapter, sorry. What you have to realize is, within these processes, you have to realize that God, there we go, 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. What you do realize is God is in control. So nothing should you commit to so much if it doesn't have God's foundation. It's hard. It's difficult, as you probably are seeing right now. It's difficult because what you find is, when something happens to you, that thing that happens to you seems to be so large that it overwhelms your mind. Why? Because you put things in position to hold these things true. You put things into positions to hold this situation the way you want this situation to be held. For example, in that situation there, the friend of mine that passed just recently, that friend maybe was a person that was a source of friendship, or they were a source of help, or they were a source of love. So when that is gone, all of a sudden now I have the choice of going, okay, I'm going to love on God while he comforts me, or I'm going to try to go and be God to somebody and try to help them in my weakness and try not to grieve and all those kind of things, which leaves me open to a soul tie. My mind has the capacity and the strength to do both things, but I have to pull my power from my spirit. I'm watching people say that they are spiritual and they are children of God or Christians, and I'm watching them rely on their own source of power. This is the easiest way to get twisted and get tied to something that is weaker than your position. Why? Because your source of power is the spirit. Your source of power is the Spirit. So 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter and the 4th verse says, the weapons of warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. Now, when you're dealing with soul ties, when you're dealing with your mind being boggled, you have to understand the way to get you tied into a soul tie is to weigh your mind down. Weigh it down with opportunities. Hear me, positive and negative. Weigh it down with situations. Weigh it down with problems, challenges, charges. Weigh it down with anything. Why? Because that way you don't flow in the spirit like you really should. You find yourself pulling away and drawing to yourself, because what a soul tie does is make you feel like you are the one that's dealing with it and nobody else is dealing with it but you. You are the one that has to handle it. You start not trusting people. You start depending on that thing that you're tied to, and you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're all alone. And it wasn't because people wanted to be away from you. It's because you pushed them away because you were tied to something else. Do you know how many people I know that went to church, and when they started going to church, they pushed their family away because the family didn't serve like they served, worship like they worshiped, pray like they prayed? That is not God's perfect plan for you. Now, I understand separating for a time so that you can get strengthened, but that doesn't isolate. When you begin to deal in the spirit, you deal in an opportunity that is a power that overwhelms those that don't know that power. But you also get to a point where you have to understand who God is. So I understand that. But what happens is I've watched people isolate themselves and push themselves away from family. Husbands and wives, I know that's just crazy for them. But what happens is you have to free your mind. The reason you have to free your mind is because your mind is not the source of all energy, not all power. Your mind is the conduit by which that power is accessed. Many of you that are part of my mentoring group, you hear me say that you introduce things to your atmosphere. You introduce things to your atmosphere. So God says something in your spirit, you introduce it to your atmosphere. And when you introduce it to your atmosphere, you then give your atmosphere the opportunity to grow from what you've gained. You got it? Now, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. Now it says casting down imagination. Now here's where soul ties takes place. There is the source of God. Y'all follow me. This is going to sound it's going to sound it's going to sound like it's all over the place. There's a source that is God. There is an access that is man. There is a movement that is body. There's a source that's God. There's an access that's man, and there's a movement that's your physical. So it's one plant, one water, God gives it. There's a source that's God. Now, here is what you have to realize when you're dealing with soul ties. Soul ties address a weakness in a position that you feel with something that you connect to. Soul ties address a weakness. So, for example, you've been poor all of your life. Somebody brings you the opportunity to sell drugs. So you tie yourself to the drug world to the point that you alter the natural flow of your mind so that you can adapt to this source. You are in a soul tie. You follow me? Because this is the source and this is the access. Now, because you've never connected to the spirit, it's not a source to you. It becomes an access. So your source is what you have. Your access is the spirit. It's twisted. And this is what happens to a lot of us, especially when we start going to churches and religions and organizations, because we flip the source. God is the initial source. Now, if in that source, he tells you to do something, you obey you're obedient to the source. Then your soul is tied to the spirit. You're tied to the spirit. Most of us are tied to our situations. And I don't need to be prophetic to know that. Let me show you how you know you're tied to your situation. Anytime something happens, you're trying to figure out who to be mad at. Anytime something happens, you get depressed because the source is not God, the source is you. Anytime a problem comes up, you start looking around at who you can get money from and who you can help. Or who did you owe money to? Your source is not. So now you are tied to these other areas, and while you're tied to these areas, you're not committed to the source. Now it says casting down imagination. So the image that you place in your life that you believe is the image for you, is that image based on the spirit or based on a point of lack? Is it based on the spirit on a point of lack? Why? If it's based on the spirit, then what you're finding is there's always going to be a resource. A resource, again, is universal. God can do whatever God wants to do, but understand that God's system actually works to make things better. It doesn't drain a source. I had a situation happen today. A friend of mine comes up. I asked my friend, I said, I need the help. He goes, God got you. Now, it's not going to drain his source. But I know what God spoke to me over and over and over again, because my source is not him. My source is not me. My source is not you. My source is God. When you shift from ministry, I told God, most of you know that I did business consulting, and business consulting does a whole lot better than just doing ministry, because ministry is a direct trust in God. When you do business consulting, that person desires something, they pay for that desire. I have a mentoring course. We have almost 100 people that take the mentoring class. That class is free. Why? My source is God. Now, when God says something to me, because this is the challenge that a lot of people have, if God says something to me, we are so sensitive to certain areas, we have to be careful when he says something to you. You have to be careful. I remember I was in a meeting one time, and the young lady contacted me and she said, hey, I need some help. And I said, okay, what do you need? And she said, I need you to tell me what I can do to see a move of God. I said, what do you need? She said, I need money. I said, how much do you need? She said, I just need something to start my business. I said, go send $200. Send me $200. And she goes, what? She goes through this whole process. No, what? I can't. What? Now, let me tell you the whole story. I didn't need the $200. The first thing God said to me, he said, she's bound because she's afraid of everybody and everything. I said, send $200. We talked for almost 30 minutes about her $200. Now, did she have it? Oh my God, she had it. I more than had it. But the way she had set up the image of her life is she was so afraid somebody was trying to get over on her. Eventually we talked and she said, you know what I got to lose? I send her $200. She sent the $200. By the time the $200 got to me, I told her I'm going to send the $200 back. She got another $500 that same day that she doesn't know where it came from. Why? Because that's when you speak. You have to realize you can't be tied to anything. The only thing you're tied to, men, is your wife, because you're one. Woman, you're a husband because you're one. Guess what? You're not tied to the children. So that little lie that you tell you, these are my kids, every woman screaming their kids. If you want to know something that's really crazy, a revelation that God gave me, and I heard the Lord say this to me. It was really strange. He said, the young lady was talking, and this is the husband. This is the husband, and they're his kids as well as her kids. Same husband, same children. They were the same kids. And the lady said, these are my children. And God says, should the dirt claim the seed? And I'm going, I don't get what you mean, said. God said, he said, when a woman is taking a seed, she is the incubator for the seed. But what she incubate doesn't belong to her. What really incubate belongs to the person that laid the seed. Now, a lot of y'all are going to stop listening to me right now. It's okay. But what happens is something is inside of you for so long, and this happens, ladies, a whole lot. Something is inside of you so long, you believe that means your possession. So you're with a man so long, you think you have possession. You sleep with him so long, you think you have possession. And what happens is you don't have possession because you've had it for so long. The law said possession is 9/10 of the law, but it's not the law. So you tie yourself to the attributes of your children because you feel that this is the thing that you are supposed to do. So you tie yourself to your children. Now, I understand blended families. We're blended. I understand all those things, but I'm trying to get you free. If you look at the passages and you believe in Bible and you believe in God, you're a follower of the word or follower of God, train the child up in the way they should go. And when they're old, they won't depart from it. So what we find ourselves in is a position where we adapt to the children. We tie ourselves to the children. So now you got your grandson, your uncle downstairs. He's 80 years old or 40 years old, and he has not done anything more. You got your daughters. Everybody is dependent on you, and you are tied to them by your soul. And what happens is God will not send you anywhere because you won't obey the word. Can I mess a lot of you up? There are a number of you that are connected to your pets as well. A number of you that are connected to your pets as well. Anytime God tells you to do something and you can't do it because your dog or your cat will suffer. Really? Your dog or your cat will suffer. We can't do that because our dog will suffer. God says, go to Africa, minister to the world. I'm going to open the door. I'm open the windows of heaven. Well, my dog, really? We are tied to so many things that have nothing to do with God. It is amazing. There are people right now, and it's okay. This is what Uncle Dallas does. There are people right now one of them is me. Your daughter or your granddaughter or whoever is 1 year old, you spend $5,000 on a birthday for them and they play with a box and walk over to the corner because you're tied to your ability to make sure this birthday party is something that they remember, even though they don't remember it. You're tied to that thing. It drains resources that are supposed to be resources to take you to the next level. Now, if you got millions of dollars, that's no big deal. But if you are concerned about rent every month and light bills every month, and you go and spend enough money to pay your light bill and your rent on a birthday party for a child that's only 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. Now, when you get your 4s and 5s and they know what they're seeing, it's okay. Same thing with Christmas. Now, do I like Christmas? I know all of you go, well, what about? I love Christmas. I love Christmas with everything that's in me. But the key becomes, if your children are older than 25 years old and you're trying to figure out what they want so you can spend thousands of dollars on Christmas for them because you want them to have a special Christmas, and they've never taken the time to figure out how to make mom have a special Christmas when she's done it for 23 years, you have a soul tie, baby. You have to get free. I miss my friend. For those of you who don't know, I miss my friend. But I know that if my friend were around, they would want me to do what I'm doing right now because this is what I'm good at. So let's figure out how to get free. Y'all ready? Let's get free. Okay. First thing we have to get free is we have to begin to balance what's God and what's not God. That's very hard for a lot of us, and even in my cases, because sometimes in our minds we think that things are God because they give a certain level of peace or a certain level of release. So we think that's God. But what we have to understand is that doesn't mean that it's God. It simply means that it makes us feel like we have accomplished something because of that release. But in the book of Philippians, because we did the second chapter, in the book of Philippians, the second chapter, there's the first concept. Concept number 1 on how to be free. Philippians, the second chapter and the 7th verse. Philippians, the second chapter and the 7th verse. It says this, but made himself of no reputation, took upon the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of man. Made himself of no reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm trying to shake this. Ladies and gentlemen, made himself of no reputation. Here's the deal. Anytime something you do is based on maintaining a reputation or an image, therein is where you are tied. Therein is where you are, wait a minute. Therein is where you are tied. Let me explain something to you. People are not going to like you whether you got $1 million or $5. People are not going to like you if you're doing all good stuff or you're doing all bad stuff. What you have to realize, When you are operating at this level, you cannot have the reputation that tears away from your process. My job is to teach. So I don't have to say Pastor Dallas. If Pastor Dallas bothers you, call me Brother Dallas. If Brother Dallas calls you, call me Uncle Dallas. Why? I cannot let a reputation hinder my source. Now, my source is not church. My source is not religion. My source is God. And so when you understand the source of being God, the only thing I am is a child of God. I'm a child of God if I cut grass. I'm a child of God if I'm a businessman. I'm a child of God if I do absolutely nothing. That supersedes, usurps anything over anybody. Too many of you are holding reputation, but I'm his mother. No, my dear, you're his advisor. So let me help you out. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for the greatest revelation I ever got? From the child's birth until the child is, let's be nice, 21 years old, you are the parent. And what the parent does is instructs the child in how to get out of their house and live their own life. Birth to 21. You must instruct the child in how to live their life to the best of your ability, sourcing of the Spirit, so that they can get out of your house and live their own life. If they don't leave your house, what's supposed to happen is to grow and bring more alive. So they don't do what they're supposed to do and grow and now take over more territory. That's the job. After 21, you're no longer the mama and daddy. You are the advisor. Why? Because at that point, they're supposed to be experiencing their own revelation, their own information, so that they can come back and say, hey, Dad, how's the best way to handle this? So they can now duplicate it and say, now I go raise my children that they may go. Why? Because if they may go, for example, my son teaches like I do. So now we have teaching and I can extend myself to another level. My daughter teaches, then she can extend to another level. So now we then create a lineage. We create generational wealth. But what you do is because you're tied to the position of parent, you're tied to the position of dad. And I understand, I love my children with all my heart. But I had to understand that I cannot give them the source of stuff they can receive from an understanding of spirituality, not of church, of spirituality. I cannot give them what they understand when it comes to revelation, because they will turn around and bite me because I'm still trying to be dad instead of being advisor. I never understood why my father would put me in positions where I felt like I was out all by myself. Why? I wasn't by myself. The information he gave me over the years, the things that God has done in your life, the situations where you are blessed more than anybody else, all that is God's. For somebody to come and try to pressure you because, well, you're my dad. No, I'm not. My source, the reason that I live my life and the reason I'm supposed to live my life is I build a reservoir. And as you begin to grow, when you get to a place you can't go any further and you come to me or to my wife and say, listen, Dad, I'm already at that level where I'm ready to go to the next level. So what can I do? I go, okay, here's $1 million. Let's see what you can do with that. Why? Because you're never by yourself. That's why you train them in the way they should go. Because what you're doing is establishing a positive soul tie. Some are going to take it and enjoy it. Others are going to reject it and do things against it. You build their mind up so they're strong enough to handle it. Well, I didn't do that. Then now you have to depend on God, because whether you like it or not, at 21, and I'm using that number arbitrarily, at 21, their next move is being able to do it themselves. That's all that apprenticeship was all about. All these things are all about. Why? Because you train them in the way they should do it themselves. So when he says casting down imagination of no reputation, there you go. So let's take it a little deeper, because many times on my TikTok, a lot of people are relationships. Okay, you're a girlfriend of no reputation. You're not a girlfriend. You're not a boyfriend until the qualifiers of girlfriend and boyfriend are in place. So girlfriend is girlfriend. She's not almost the wife. She's girlfriend. She's not almost the wife. So he doesn't get wife benefits because he's almost the wife. Well, we're engaged. You're still not almost the wife. You're not almost a wife until commitment is made. And commitment doesn't have to be made with a ring. Commitment can be made with the obedience to what we've decided to do. You're not almost a wife, and bruh, you're not almost a husband. So you can't go in and start telling her what to do in her household when you're not committed to be in the beneficial place of calling husband. So asking for sex or any of those benefits that's supposed to come with marriage, and she says no, you can't get mad. You're not almost a husband. No reputation, or get into the proper reputation. And the proper reputation is earn your position. Maybe somebody didn't teach you how to go on outside of the family, so you're still immature. The first thing to get rid of soul ties is stop holding reputations that have nothing to do with your destiny. I am not a businessman. I have friends that are excellent businessmen. Do I know business? Yes, but I am not a businessman. I got friends that know how to handle millions of dollars. And to be honest with you, I can probably handle $1 million. But you know what? If somebody kicked me with $1 billion right now, the concept of $1 billion means nothing to me but things that I need that are at a different level. I've got a friend, as a matter of fact, that's on here. I know if they gave him $1 billion, he knows how to handle it. Some of you need to kill your reputation of thinking you know how to do stuff that you don't know how to do. You have no idea. Why? So my source becomes God. So if I get $1 billion, I call a Keller. Why? Because he knows how to handle that. I call on God. Why? Because my reputation is not what's going to farm. I ain't nobody tell me what to do. This is my money. Your reputation is killing you. Parents, I dealt with you. Boyfriend, girlfriend, I dealt with you. Money people, I dealt with you. Let me deal with the final people. So now you are a Christian. Yeah, I'm about to lose about 5 or 6 people off the call. It's all right. Now you are a Christian. If you are basing your movement, your growth, and your access to God on what a pastor told you, and you talk more about what pastor said than you talk about what you got from God, you are immature and you have a soul tie. You are tied to the personality of a charismatic, well-spoken man. And because he knows how to entice your emotions, you now follow this person, even though he is all the things that you know he's not. So you ignore the fact that he walks around and he looks more gay than he does straight. You ignore the fact that he looks like he abuses women. He's looking too much at Sister Sarah. She's looking too much at how she's got more dominant man features than she does woman features. But you ignore that because you have a reputation to be a Church of God in Christ man. I'm Catholic. I'm Church of God in Christ. I'm Hebrew Israelite. I'm Monkey Do. You have tied to something that is not benefiting your life. Those places, religion of every kind, is an immature access to spirituality. I don't care if you're Catholic. I don't care if you're Baptist. I don't care if you're Church of God in Christ over the moon. That is the immature position of your life. Now, depending on religion to help you, or depending on church to help you, love it. Everybody should have access to somebody. But the key to this situation is church has one purpose: to introduce you to a level of the spirit that is greater than the church could ever tell you or ever show you. Religion is an organized way to tell you how to access God. But when you understand that your everyday process, every move you make, everything that you take is designed for you to be stronger in the spirit and not to put you in a position where you make a church stronger that does not do what the church should do, and realize that the church is you. I was talking to a bunch of friends of mine yesterday, and we were talking about, he said, so you don't serve Christ? I said, no, I don't serve Christ. What? Whoa. No, we got to serve the Lord. I said, no. I didn't say I didn't serve the Lord. I said, I don't serve Christ. And he said, well, do you sin? I said, no. Now, for those of you that are looking at me like I'm crazy because I don't serve Christ, and apparently I feel like I'm really want to preach because my friend is passed, so I'm going to preach. I'm not going to put my reputation out there. If you are writing down, somebody that's on every one of these platforms, somebody write down John 15:15. Whoever does it, just write down. Everybody write down John chapter 15, verse 15. John 15:15. I'm going to teach of no reputation. You got to free yourself from the obligation of your reputation. You've got to free yourself from it. If you have a need, your ego is a reputation, and you're tied to your ego, and you'll stop moving in positions that you should be moving in, but your ego has tied you to a reputation. So now your soul is bound. That's all soul ties it. My soul is bound. Thank you. Got a John over here. John 15:15 over here. Thank you. YouTube, I need a John. Thank you very Levette. You follow me? Your soul is tied to that. Now, this is going to be one of those recordings you need to listen to. John 15:15 says this. Very simple, very straightforward. It is a principle. I don't care who said it. It's a principle. It's in the red writing, just in case. It says, henceforth, Jesus is talking to his disciples. His disciples, the people that follow him. That's how that intensity. Hold up, let me get on. Let me put my Morpheus glasses on. Take the red pill. Yeah. Okay. See, this is my Morpheus glasses. Neo, you must have your mind free. Okay. Got that. Y'all got that? Your mind's free now. Okay, good. Henceforth, I call you not servants. For the servant know not what the Lord doeth. But I call you friends, for all things that I've heard of my Father, I make known unto you. From this point on, you're not a servant. If somebody say you need to serve Jesus, Nick the Lord, listen, I even avoid listening to songs to talk about bless Jesus. Now, I appreciate that. I thank God for what he sent his son to do. I believe in it 150%. But I also believe in my elementary school teacher that taught me 1 + 1. But you don't see me putting a cross on my neck with her name on it either. When you understand the reason what he did was not to leave you somewhere struggling between being blessed and not being blessed, when you realize that the reason that Christ gave and he did what he did was so you could get access to God, then you'll understand that he was not telling you, do me. He was saying, do like I do. When you are here, he would always say, I never do that I only do that I see my Father do. Listen, I don't want an almost Cadillac. I want a Cadillac. Being in a Christian position means that you are still in the struggle of trying to establish a connection with God. That's what Jesus was doing. He was in the struggle so that he could get back to God. John the 17th chapter says, I've done what I was supposed to do. Now, God, bring me back to heaven where I'm supposed to be. That was the whole struggle. He even said, God, if you could take this cross from me, I would be really happy if we could do this another way. But nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. So he's saying, I'm not going to be tied to the experience that pulls me down. I'm going to be tied to the experience that makes me greater. Are you guys okay? Is everybody all right? Is everybody all right? I've watched God do amazing things. When I watch God do amazing things, I begin to watch God do things that were outside of who I am. Some of you, this is going to be hard for you to swallow because you've been doing this for 30 or 40 years. And so in Sunday morning, you're going to get up and go to church, but all of a sudden your mind is now clear. Your mind is now clear. I apologize. I should never have done this to you. I should have taken into consideration to ask you before I did it. But your mind is now free. And by your mind being free, you're going to realize that you're walking around a lot of people that are in a fog, because they're depending on God in a way that is not the way God wants you to depend on. So they go to church hoping that he will open the door for them to preach, sing their song, when in actuality, all the things that God has given you give you an opportunity to be blessed. If you are a gospel, and I use this one for an example. If you are in the gospel music industry and you have written a gospel song and your pastor has not allowed you to put that gospel song out, and it's a good song, look up the word NFT. Look up the word NFT, because right now, anybody that writes music, if they don't know anything about NFT and non-fungible tokens, they don't know that they can in turn make $1 million just by being able to access the NFT and releasing that song right now, which is probably the perfect time. And actually, you're there. When you understand the difference in being a Christian or being a religious or being a that and being a child or a follower of God, you will understand that what you're doing is limiting yourself because you are tied to an organization, a religion, and that thing tells you what you can and cannot do, whether it's right or wrong. But if you are tied to the Spirit of God and that spirituality begins to open up your mind, you will understand something that I know most of us don't understand. The earth belongs to God. And you are limited because of the 15 years of college you've had. And you think because your IQ is 100 or 200 points, you know something. But there is an access to information on every level. That means that if God, your spirit says you're supposed to be in a position, God can send a duck with a bag of money in his mouth to walk over to you. If you take my mentoring class, you've heard the miracles and things that have happened to my life. Because I stopped being a reputation. Yes, they call me Prophet Dallas. I stopped being a reputation and I start being connected to the universal nature of who God is, which means I may not burn incense, but if God says incense, I'm not mad. I may not burn sage, but if God says sage, I use it. I may not go to Alabama where whatever is going on, but if he says that, I'm not limited by my reputation. I'm not limited by my religion. I'm not limited by money. I'm not limited by whether you like me or not, because my goal is to keep my soul free. It's some stuff I didn't even know. And they said, why do you do this? This bracelet has copper on it or whatever. And the guy said, well, you know, copper is good for this and good for this. I don't care. It's a nice bracelet. You can't wear things. You can't do things because your mind is so bogged down with the obedience to man and man's mess that you won't live. You're so bowed down with animals. Listen, I love my puppy, but if my puppy gets so sick that I can't afford it, I'm going to either give it to somebody that can or it's sleepy time for Fluffy. Why? Because what you're doing is anything you can attach to that makes you feel alive, all of a sudden you attach to it. If you can't afford it, then you need to let it go. Now, I'm not going to be just driving out to the field I'm not going to drive out to the field like my uncle would do and just cut him free like he a wild animal. I will do what's necessary because I have a heart. But baby, you got a dog and you don't want to walk the dog. You got a boyfriend and you don't want to spend time with them. You got all these things happening. Why? Because you took on a reputation that is not you. It's never been you. Honey, I want everybody to be married. I love being married. But if it's not you, find out where you are in your spirit. Because you are greater than these situations. Stop attaching yourself to the, well, you know what? I don't want to hurt their feelings. I was talking to a brother and I said, listen, I believe in giving them 2 days notice or 4 or 7 days notice. But if somebody calls you tomorrow and say, listen, your job is in Africa and you will never want for money in the world. And they say, well, we want you to be on call 7 days. I apologize. It's not going to happen. I'm out. Because we're tied to these things. You're tied to all of this stuff. Let it go. Now, there are things that you enjoy. I love my mic. I love my camera. I enjoy that stuff. But that stuff it's got a price on it, honey. That everything in my life has a price on it. And some of it really doesn't have a price. You come in that's nice enough, I may just give it to you. Why? Because it's not going to define my reputation. My reputation is being connected to the spiritual source of who I am, and that's to God. That's my only reputation. My reputation isn't to be nice to you or to be mean to you. My reputation is that relationships mess up now because we trying to be this person and that person and this person and that person. Listen, they are grown. Let them live their grown life. Why? Because the one thing I learned, I had to learn this. I learned that when my son got to a certain level and he's looking at me, he's 29 years old, go, Dad, why don't you call me? And I'm going, did your phone break? Well, You didn't answer my question. Did your phone break? Well, no, it didn't. Then dial the phone number that is there to call me, because now I'm an advisor with a parental anointing. I'm an advisor with a parental anointing. I am not your source for life right now. I've trained you on how to start businesses, how to set up corporations. I've trained you on how to do that. So calling me going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you as you grew up. Same situation. When you are in a relationship, in a dating relationship, you say, listen, here are the things that I like. I like a man that opens the door for me. I like a man that has some kind of business about himself. I like somebody who can decide where we're going to eat. Well, I don't know. Men are not limiting, baby. There are plenty of them out there. Get out your way and start getting out of the world. Stop being, because I'm a Georgian. Get out of Georgia. Stop holding on to reputations that take you to no place. Stop it. Stop it. Get yourself free. Go somewhere by yourself. Oh, the news will have you scared to breathe. You can't breathe. You can't sneeze. Get your tail out of the country. Go to Cancun. You still in the country. Bad gets the worst, you can drive back home. Get free. Go look at the nice stuff. Go look at the Bentley. Not so you can buy Bentley. Get your mind out of this. Okay, I just want me what I want me is a Toyota, or that's expensive now. I just want me a Honda. No. Figure out what you want and go after what you want. Not limited by what you live, not limited where you are. Anything you want, you can get it. Anything. You may not be able to get it like he can get it or like she can get it, but you can get it. Because you plus God equals blessing. But you plus religion equals confusion. You plus church equals loss. Learn to be free. When you learn to be free, you'll learn to see God like God is. Is that got y'all got that? I got that. You'll see him like he is. I've had to go through this. See, I'm not talking about stuff that I'm trying to get you guys to do that I haven't. I've been through it. I've been through having absolutely nothing. Been through suicide attempts. I've been through losing the children. I've been through losing everything I've owned. I've been through every one of those single solitary situations. And everything that I had to realize was each thing killed a part of me that was keeping me tied to that part. My wife is love at first sight. I had girls around me, I had friends around me, but love at first sight kept me from trying to come in. And when I came in, I tried to show her all my preaching and all my CDs. She said, I don't want to see that mess. Show me what kind of man you are. So she just killed the whole Prophet Dallas when I would go into churches and people would go, oh my God, Prophet Dallas is here. Oh my God, Prophet Dallas is here. She said, I don't care who Prophet Dallas is. I need a husband. Who are you, my husband? Are you the person that's going to set a path for me to go someplace else? So I took on that identity, and every other identity was an identity I put on like I would put on a pair of glasses. So I left the matrix and took off the blue pill and got the red pill because I was of no reputation. I took upon the form of a servant. I served the destination. I took upon the form of a servant. I served the destination. I stopped serving my identity. I stopped serving who I thought I was, and I served the destination. That was the greatest thing I've ever told you. That one thing, serve the destination. You want a new car? Serve the destination. You get up and you work like you're working toward a new car. You want a new house? Serve the destination. You get up every day and you work like you're trying to get you a new house. He showed me that, because that means there's nothing outside of your realm. There's nothing outside of your pay grade. The only thing that's out of your pay grade, the only thing that stops you is the things you are tied to in here that tell you you can't do something that already is available to you. Because if you can think it, you can get it. If you can conceive it, you can receive it. So you got to clear this out. That's all I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to clear the clutter out. I'm up in your mental garage throwing away the Instamatic camera that you had since the 60s, and you want to hold on to it just in case they come back. I'm throwing away your bell-bottom boots with the bush with the fur around them, because I'm trying to clean out the old stuff that's in your head. because some of you are right next to what you desire in your life. And the reason you're next to it is because you won't get to the point that you let go of that mess. I made a comment, if you go to church, try not going to church for 3 Sundays. 3 weeks, just don't go. What are you going to do in those three weeks? Because that'll determine whether what you were doing at church was even worth it or not. Get free. Get free. My children are grown. I'll help them with anything they ask for. But guess what? No more am I making compensations. I'm making the decision that does not hinge on their response. One of my brothers, he was talking about he was going to talk to his attorney about something, and I realized, I said, some of those stuff you got to make sure that your attorney is in place, so you do what you want to do and get that stuff in place. But all my decisions are made according to the fact of what I know the destination is. That's it. Do you like my decision? Hey, it's okay. You'll be all right. Because guess what? Every one of you had a point where you had to get to this point. You were at that point and you got to this point. I didn't have everything that I have right now. I had to get to this point. So I do my very best to show my son from this point, and my daughters from this point to this point, so that when they get to that point, they can now begin to get to this point. They can now start moving to this point. Listen, you're not here to make sure your husband, the boyfriend, gets everything he needs. You're not here to make sure the girlfriend gets everything you need. You're not here as parents to make sure the children get everything you need. The reason that we are on this planet at this level in our lives is so we can give them a blueprint and say, here, follow this blueprint and you'll never fail again. If I've accomplished, I've created a system, because wealth is about a system. Riches is about money. That's another thing you got to break. I'm rich. Because you have money doesn't mean you're rich. It doesn't mean you are wealthy. It means you're rich. And rich can go away when money goes away. But wealth never goes away, because wealth continually builds and it helps other people to build. That's what wealth does. McDonald's is a company of wealth. So they are making money, and everybody that's around them making money too. And if they're smart enough, they can take their money and create generational wealth. That's what wealth does. Riches means I have money. So I got something in the bank. I got something there. But it's doing nothing for you or anybody around you. That's the way you know the difference, that men that are good men and men that are just trying to make their world better. Reputation. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns? That's it. I hope you took good notes. I hope you got everything that you need. Hope you guys took good notes. Hope you got everything that you need. I appreciate you guys. I thank God for you. I hope everything that I said was something that you would enjoy or something that you need to learn. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything I need to ask, because I sometimes get to talking and I need to be listening more too. Sorry, I lost your friend. Don't worry. Adam Keller, God bless you, man. I love you. I love Adam Keller. That's my boy. That is my boy. Mr. Keller is my boy. Teacher confirm. Ladies not trying to for me. Okay, now. There's no questions. All you people on YouTube, on Facebook, I love you guys. Thank you very much for being there. If you're on TikTok or Instagram, we will be on to do a question and answer. So if you want to, you can get on Instagram or TikTok and we can answer some of your questions. I'm going to cut this short because I want people to be able to listen to it and be able to go over it and over it and over it and over it again. If you are watching on YouTube and you would like the audio of this teaching, let me know and I'll make your copy of the audio and you can listen to it over and over again. And same thing with you guys on TikTok and on Facebook. All right. Now, for my closing for Facebook and YouTube, thank you very much. Thanks for all the condolences. I love you guys. I will see you on Wednesday for the next TikTok. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe. I'm going for 1,000 subscribers this month. Subscribe so that when I get on, the bells will ring and you'll know that I'm here. Share this with somebody that you know need it. It's probably everybody you know, and we'll go from there. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you a little later. Talk to you then.